Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday. I want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday, guys. So I want to respond to it's one email. The one email is in regards to quote unquote pretty privilege from a good sis who shared some things. I want to speak about how quote unquote pretty privilege can actually lead to low self-esteem and confidence issues. I know it sounds like a contradiction, but it really can. And then I also want to speak about, are you called or not called to marriage? I don't know if you guys saw the recent Kirk Franklin's interview, but I'm glad that people are starting to really speak up on it. So we'll chat about that. So let's start with my good sis. So basically, she was raised by an auntie and some cousins in the household, and all of her life since childhood, she dealt with that spirit of jealousy and cattiness. As a child, she really couldn't really put it all, together. But now, as an adult, in her 40s, she is really, really shut down and closed down, even though she know God is calling her to the forefront when it comes down to her purpose and calling. But she's really, really in her shell. She don't know how to come out of that shell because she's been suppressed by women, right? Because typically it's other women. If that's you, stay tuned, 'cause I have a word for you as well, right? Typically it's other women. I'm not gonna say you don't have men out here like trying to bash women because they have pretty privilege, but then again, we're in the sassy era, so it is what it is. But who knows, right? I've never experienced that when it comes down from men. It's for me 100% women, not all women, of course. And those are the good sis you want in your corner. You want those sis that listen, there is no competition, right? Like, I don't care who got what going on. There's no competition. We don't compete, right? We rise together. Those are the type of women that you want in your corner, because there is no competition when it comes down to friendship. Point blank, period. So one way that it can lead to a lack of confidence and self-esteem is because it have you seeking approval. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel good enough, because remember, confidence and self-esteem, that stuff, first and foremost, I always say, if you truly, truly want real, authentic confidence and self-esteem, tap into your purpose and your calling. That's really what I'm telling you. That's where it is. It's not rocket science. Your purpose and your calling, because only you can do that thing the way that you do it. And God give you this grace. God give you this confidence, right? Doesn't mean that you don't ever deal with confidence issues, but at the end of the day, true purpose and calling leads to authentic confidence and self-esteem boost. But this is another reason why the enemy targets people early on, like in childhood, right? Let it be in childhood, right? It's because he want to shake that confidence early on, because that's your foundation. Your foundation needs to be built on confidence and self-esteem. Let that be through a father being present, not saying he has to be in the household, but present, as well as the way that the people who are raising you pour into you very early on. So the enemy will try to target you in however way, through molestation, through abuse of all sorts, through bullying. He'll target you very early on, because he wants to catch you before that foundation is solid. So, all right, let's fast forward now to adulthood, and God is calling you in the forefront. Well, you've been shut down all your life. You were told you're too much. You were told to sit down and dim your light. You were told that, when you walk in the room, like everybody, you get the attention, so stay somewhere in the corner. Like, you were told that. Nobody wants you in the group, because they feel like if you're in the group, or if they invite you on the group trip, or in some type of sorority or something like that. I don't know. Like, if they invite you in, like, you're just too much. You're going to steal the shine, all that stuff. So all that stuff literally is rejection. It's rejection. We're not even speaking about, in addition, the ones who are literally hating on you for no reason. It's crazy. And some of you guys are here right now. It's crazy that you can ask a person, why don't you like so-and-so? And their answer would be, I don't know, I just don't like them. But why don't you like? I don't know, I just don't like them. That's something in your spirit. Something in their spirit disturbed your spirit. Something in them is agitating a deficiency in you. Because if you dislike somebody, you should be able to give a true logical reason. Well, I don't like this person because they crossed me and they betrayed me in 10th grade, right? I don't like this person because you don't even have an answer, right? So in addition to being ostracized or rejected from certain groups or whatever, now you have the group who are telling lies on you. You have the group who are trying to set traps for you. So all that stuff can be very, very heavy. It suppresses you. So you were literally conditioned to sit down. And now God is telling you to get up. Listen, one of the most powerful things that you can learn is that you were never the problem. You are not the problem. It takes a whole mindset shift, a whole perspective shift, but receive it. You were never the problem. They were the problem. Their own insecurities, things like that. And sadly, sometimes when it comes on to like little children, it's things that they're not getting in their own household, right? So their parents are calling them names and calling them, you're fat, you're black, you're this, you're that. So in their own household, they're dealing with that just to come to school to sit next to another little girl who they think is pretty. Or who the teacher may call on and she feels like you're the teacher's pet because you're pretty. Like this stuff starts early on. And it's sad. It happens right in people's own household. God needs you to see yourself the way he sees you. God needs you to see yourself the way he sees you. Because see, what'll happen is if you're not careful, you start trying to change yourself to fit into the narrative, to fit into whatever mold they're trying to place you in. I've never done that, obviously. Obviously. Here's why. I tried to do it once in a toxic relationship, but God got your girl straight real quick. Seriously, God got me right real quick. So that, never mind. Because I heard very early on, I would say probably like 14. I couldn't grasp it in its entirety, but I remember the prompting, and God says, you are to not let anybody change you. But during that time, it's shifty because it's like, again, you're trying to change yourself to the narrative that would make you fit in or to make people feel comfortable around you. And truth be told, even if you had done that, they still wouldn't be, because it's something in your spirit. You just didn't know what it was at the time. So you could have done everything that they wanted you to do. You could have sat down. You could have walked in the room with a robe on. You could have do all that stuff. They still would not have liked you. So when God told me, you are to let absolutely nobody change you, that just always sat in my spirit. So then going forward, it was never a question mark for me. It was, other than, the one situation, right? But again, God got me quick. Speaking of, I was going to just ride past that really quickly, but my spirit is pulling me back. I think somebody may need to hear this. Listen. When you start to change yourself, you lose yourself. When you lose yourself, you lose your way. When you lose your way, you lose your purpose and your calling, because you're not authentic. You're not your authentic self. In order for you to thrive in your purpose and your calling, you have to literally be your true authentic self, regardless of who agrees with you who don't understand you. Listen, I'm not for everybody. I have people who love me. I have people who receive me fully, not just on social media, right? And then I have people who just can't stand me. Some of them listening now, but they can't go. They can't go. That's telling you that they can't go. But that's also why I'm very protective, not to get it twisted with secrecy, right? Listen, you got to understand, my friends, and this is for male or female. You have to understand how dangerous that seed of jealousy and envy is. People can turn your life upside down. And sadly, sometimes these are the people that's in your vicinity. Like, these are people who you, like, hopefully you have great discernment and you know how to kind of, keep some of them, you limit certain things. But that's a very, very, very dangerous spirit. So, back to this relationship really quickly. God keeps pulling me back here, so it's got to be for somebody, because this is not my situation at all any longer. Long time ago, actually. So I started to change because the person that he was attracted to, which is crazy, right? You're attracted to somebody one way, but now you want to kind of change him because now you don't really want them getting that attention, or you want them to kind of sit down and not get too much spotlight because you done messed around, caught some feelings, and got caught up. Right? So if you're not careful, a person can start to change you very subtly, and you don't even realize it. You're like, they're complaining about one thing, now you're trying to do it better so you don't have to hear their mouth or whatever. So you're doing these things, and before you know it, one day after some time go on, you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, who am I? You don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you are. You've lost yourself. And the crazy part about it, they won't even want you anymore because they were never attracted to this person who's walking around with this low self-esteem, not knowing who they are. They were attracted to whatever they were attracted to initially. So don't let people change you. You only change when and trust me, when God needs you to change, the Holy Spirit will pound your head off so hard. Or God will send wise counsel, but you will know the difference through the way you receive the spirit of the wise counsel versus just some old random people they're not even tapping to their own purpose and calling. They have zero fruit on their lives, but they want to try to tell you how you should be, or how God uses you, or how God shouldn't use you. Have a seat, please. Nobody want to hear that nonsense. Go stay in your lane and stop swerving over here, right? Because we tapped in over here, right? So whatever you do, if you're in that situation, ask God to step in. Ask God to give you strength, because sometimes you've lost yourself so bad, honey, you don't even know where to start, right? Ask God to step in. Ask God to give you strength. Repent if it's like some old foolishness, but ask God to give you strength to really build yourself up again, and God will start to give you steps. It may even include leaving that fool, right? That child of God, right? Whatever God gives you, just follow the steps. And it took time for you to lose yourself, so it's going to take time for you to really climb out of that hole. But I don't even know who needed that. But honey, please don't change yourself, because that's not going to make anything better, right? People will try to change you for their own comfort levels or their own narratives. So once my good sisters, or even my bros, but pretty privilege, I guess, kind of gears more towards a woman's saying pretty privilege. Once you realize that you're not the problem, right, and God reveals this to you, ask God. And I say this a lot, and I'm going to continue to say it because it has been life-changing for myself. Ask God, literally ask God, to allow you to see yourself the way he sees you. I promise you, as a game changer, because you see past all the whatever you've been through, whoever said or done what, you see past all that. And then once God shows you that, right, ask God to, do it all at the same time, I guess. I don't know. Ask God to really help you to identify your purpose and your calling. And you may be in it right now. And a lot of people keep saying, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Sometimes you're already in it, right? You're already in it, but you don't receive it as purpose because it's no lights, camera, and actions behind it. Sometimes purpose is very subtle. And then God continues to elevate that thing and increase it over time if you're stewarding it correctly at this level. But ask God to reveal to you what your purpose and your calling is, because again, that's going to really build that confidence. That's going to really give you that boost of confidence, what you need. And that's when you're going to really, 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 really know that you were never the problem. Honey, and let me tell you something. Once you get that kind of confidence, you wouldn't care. And I'm being honest. You would not care who likes you, who dislike you, or who can't receive you. It can literally just flow off of you, where before it would give you a sting, right? But you truly do not care because you know it's not you. So you would go to the forefront in a second if God told you to. You would walk into a room and stand under the light if God told you to. You will never sit down again. Ever sit down again. Don't allow anybody to dim your light, sis. I know you've been through a lot, so God may have to really unpack some things to really help you to, but if God is calling you to the forefront, right, there's grace for you to be in the forefront. But ask God to step in so he can really heal that. So, all right, let's fast forward to currently you're moving in purpose and calling, and you are confident now and you know who you are. Let's talk about pretty privilege. Listen, is pretty privilege a real thing? I have a recording, like I said, maybe a year or so ago, and I actually said I had up until recently, I had a hard time trying to identify with that because I'm a person where I'm such a determined person. I work so hard. Like my mind, if you know me, like personally, like the way my mind is set up, like nobody can ever hold anything over my head. So I'm going to work really hard for everything I got. So I could not receive the benefits on how pretty privilege could work. But then recently, like maybe within the last year or so, God started to reveal certain things to me. And I think God started to reveal it to me so I can understand how strategic he is. Meaning, if you're pretty privileged, have to get you in certain rooms to accomplish certain purpose and calling and certain message, or however God uses you. If you're pretty privileged opens the door, it opens the door. But then you know it's not about you. But we're living in a world of reality. Like, it is a thing. And so when I really started to think back on it after talking to a friend of mine, I was like, you know what? I've gotten out a couple of speeding tickets. I had one officer who stopped me. I was speeding. This wasn't recently. And he went back to write me a ticket. Like, you know how they go in the car and sit down? He came back and handed, I thought it was a whole ticket. It was his whole number, honey. Like, it was his number, right? And so little things like that. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I'm in denial a lot. I'm like, well, no, maybe he was just a nice officer. And my friend was like, seriously? Right. Sometimes I'm just in denial about certain things. And also because, again, I don't see myself the way others see me. Let me be very clear here so nobody get that twisted. I don't have low self-esteem, right? I'm a very confident person. That's not to say that I don't have my days of insecurity. I'm a whole woman up over here, honey, right? I have my days. Trust me when I tell you. But I'm speaking about as a whole, right? There's no cloud of a lack of confidence or no self-esteem covering, like none of that. I have my days. And it's only because I'm tapped into purpose and calling. Then, here's something that I could not, and if I'm honest with you, I still can't grasp it. I don't care who I take a picture with. And since many of you are here from Pastor R.C. Blake, so I'm going to start with that. When Pastor and I took a picture, I could not for the life of me understand the uproar when it came down to straight mud ducks. And that's actually the answer. That's the answer. I've already answered the question, actually. Who saw an innocent picture that has been taken 50 times before then with other people, the exact pose 50 times after, just even recently, and there's not one comment on, quote unquote, something looks suspicious here. Is that your side chick? Like, why am I the target? What's so different about the picture that I took that is the exact position of 50 others? Same thing happened with Dr. Umar. They blew him up. Innocent pictures that these gentlemen, and that's just two, I can go on and on and on and on about. When I take a picture, it is all I can't get it. I can't receive it. And then God said to me clearly, why are you trying to get it? Why are you trying to receive it? It's not you, period. The same thing that I help you to understand about women who are dealing with their own insecurity and confidence issues. Years ago, it's the same thing. These are never people who are living in their own truth. These are never people who are happy where they are in life. These are people who have an agenda to constantly start mess. But see, as a wise person, right? If you're a wise person, you have to be wise enough to know when to pull back. Meaning, you don't get your flesh involved and say, okay, because see, let me tell you something, right? Let me tell you something, right? Because I'm the kind of person, oh, you mad? Let me make you real mad. Let me make you real mad right quick, right? That's not the way God moves. So if anything, if it's causing too much of an uproar, meaning it's now taking away from the message, now that you're going to have too many people focusing on this and they're not really receiving what they need to receive. Like seriously, especially if it's a word that God need to really get to them. Like you got to be wise enough to know when God says, okay, pull back, chill, and let God do what God do. But see, that comes with wisdom. So don't get it twisted. Your girl is still around. Right? I'm still there, just as present as you guys are. But I'm wise enough to know that you got to know when to pull back and let certain things be, so it does not affect what God is doing in the spiritual realm. My sisters, I feel your pain. Trust me. And again, especially because this is not something that's talked about a whole lot. These are things that people sweep under the rug. Quote unquote, pretty privilege is truly a real thing. And it's very, very, very discouraging. It's hurtful, right? When you don't know any better, right? It's hurtful. It can be harmful. But whatever you do, please get up and please start shining. If you need somebody to shine with you, if you need somebody to support you, hit your girl up. I'm coming. Point blank, period. Let's speak really quickly about call to marriage, not call to marriage. So someone sent me a link of Kirk Franklin's video, and I think it was very, very informative. In fact, it has been a way that I've all of my life felt, only because I'm just a natural born, the way God has my mind set up, like I'm just a natural born leader, if you will. So I don't follow the masses, never have followed the masses, obviously, right? But I agree with him. Everybody is not called to marriage. I agree with him that society will place this cloud over a woman's head, because I think he said something like when black women, I think he said black women or woman, I don't know, goes to a family reunion or a family function. Like if you're not married or have kids by the age of 35, it's almost like the aunties and everybody else is kind of looking at you side eye, like what's wrong with you, that type of thing. And peep this, the crazy part about that is, it be the same aunties or the same grannies or the same whoever who are miserable. I mean, not just unhappy, but miserable. And you have lived yourself to witness this as you grew up, and it's almost like your situation turned me off from it. And now you want to sit here and condemn me, not me, because I honestly don't deal with that. I know a lot of women do. I think people who knows me, they just kind of know, like, you know. So I don't deal with that. I don't get that. But I know a lot of women do. And I want to encourage you that if you are called to marriage, if you want to be married, that's probably the average woman. That's not all, right? Especially those who've done it before and they're non-divorced. I can't tell you how many women who I've heard say that, let it just be through social media or in general, like men as well, but they've done it before. They would never, ever, 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 ever do it again. But then, of course, there are many women who've never been married who wants to experience that. And I think that's a very, very beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing that you want a husband. I think it is crucial for you to, again, be sure that you have your own identity first and you're not trying to wrap your identity into becoming a wife or become like you gotta know who you are. You need to be in your own purpose and your calling, and then allow God to bring, all caps, God to bring the person who he has literally ordained for your life, because you guys are going to do purpose together. But just to want somebody, just to want them, and I guess that's fine too if you just desire it, but make sure you're not desiring it from a place of lack, because a person is not going to fulfill you. A marriage is not. Kirk said it himself. I've said it 1,000 times in the last couple of years, but I have people who want to like fight back. No, a man, yes, a man can fulfill me. He can make me happy. Yes, no, he cannot. That's your job. You can't put that pressure on somebody to make you happy. How can a person make you happy and you're not already internally happy yourself? What can they do to make you happy when you're not already happy? They can add, right? They can be in addition to your already happy self. But I think it's a beautiful thing. And if God has told you he has a spouse for you, stand firm on that. Keep waiting. Don't give up on that, because God's timing is not your timing, right? There are people who feel like they're not called to marriage, and that can shift. And then even you divorcees, that can shift next month. God can change your desires from I'm never going to get married again to now there's a desire because you met a person that you weren't even looking for, and this person is everything. Like, this person brings something to your spirit that you've never ever felt before, because you never waited on God to bring a person in your life. So now you're discovering, like, ooh, this is a whole kind of something else I've never experienced. Oh, yes, he's fine. Yes, she's fine. But it's this spiritual connection. And now, boom, that desire has popped back up. But then there are some of you who are just not called to marriage. Everybody's not called to marriage. God can, and there's Bible verses about this. Somebody shared it with me. And I want to think Kirk even shared one himself. But everybody's not called to marriage. God can use you more when you are not married. Especially when you have a large purpose. The way God be throwing you all around the world and just throwing you on certain stages and throwing you across the country. You know, go hop this flight, go to this country, however he wants to use you, whatever. Like, he can use you more. There's more you can get done. And that's okay. Please, if you don't have a desire, if you don't feel a desire, and if you feel like God has not called you to marriage, please rest in that. Please rest in that. And here's how you know that you're resting in that. And here's how you know that you're content and you believe that and you're okay with it. The key factor is when other people say something to you, it would not sting you. So if you go to the family function and you're now 67 and somebody says to you, why didn't you ever get married? It should not sting you. You should just be like, girl, listen, I saw your marriage. I ain't got time for that, honey. We got one life. I want to live this thing happy. If I can't live it in happiness, I'd rather do it by myself and be happy. And you really mean that. You're not defensive about it. There's nothing inside you that's riling up. You mean that. I actually saw a forum. There's a forum on that. People who, these people were like in their 50s and so on. 50s up to whatever age. People who, I think it was on Instagram. I forgot how they worded the title, but it was something like, if you're 50 plus, never got married, never had children, do you have any regrets? Thousands of comments. People from all walk of life, from different races. The majority of them said, not one regret. You had some who commented and said that they loved their children and they would do anything for their children, but they never wanted children. In fact, some even said they don't like children. They like their children now because they have them, but don't even like children. So it's almost like when you read these, and then you do have your group who said, well, yeah, now that I'm 70, yeah, I do wish I would have had at least one to have somebody to have companionship with. Honey, I'm in healthcare. I'm in healthcare. Let me just tell you something. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You can have 15 children. That does not guarantee you that one of them is going to take care of you when you become elderly. Ask me how I know. So if your whole goal is to have children in this crazy messed up world, especially now, I wouldn't even want to think about what children, newborns would have to go through, But anyway, if you want to have children based upon the fact that you want somebody to take care of you when you get elderly, honey, you better go ahead and save you up a good retirement plan where you can be sure you get into a very, very, very nice assisted living where you can have your peers there and have a good time, honey, because let me just tell you something. I can't even find half of the family members of some of my patients. Woo, honey, you better live your life for what works for you. Like, honestly, like, whatever that looks like for you. If that means marriage and 15 kids, if that means marriage and no kids, if that means never married, no kids, if that means 15 children never married, if that means adoption, if that means whatever, if that means traveling the world with a backpack, whatever works for you. Live your life for whatever works for you. Because everybody else is living a lie. It's your girl, Kizzy Rock.